The 80-20 Principle by Richard Koch. Results are unequally distributed, and if you exploit this fact, you can be both lazy and get massive results at the same time. Welcome to the world of 80-20. Hi and welcome to the BookLab. I'm Björn, and this is the place where we bring you the best book recommendations when it comes to philosophy, psychology, human nature and human potential. And today we're talking about the 80-20 Principle by Richard Koch. There's a natural expectation that causes and effects should be equally balanced. We tend to assume that 50% of our efforts leads to 50% of the result. While this happens sometimes, it's more of an exception rather than the rule. This fallacy, the 50-50 fallacy, is one of the most harmful and inaccurate beliefs one can have. The fact is that efforts and results are unequally distributed, and that's what the 80-20 principle teaches us. It teaches us that a few methods, causes, ideas, inputs and uses of time, money, manpower will lead to great results, while a minority of efforts actually leads to poor results. The point of the 80-20 principle is to identify the areas where 20% give you 80% of the results and double down on those areas. Focus on the things that give you the best results. Avoid working hard. Be very selective with what you do. Have a great life. Common examples of 80-20 dynamics are that 80% of your business comes from 20% of your customers. For BookLab, 80% of the traffic comes from 20% of the contents, the articles, the videos. 80% of your training results comes from 20% of the time that you spend in the gym. And here are some examples of how I use the 80-20 principle in my life. When I'm looking to optimize and polish the content that I do, I look for the 20% that gives me 80% of the traffic and focus on those. The 80-20 relationship is true both for my website and for my YouTube channel. And it's the 20% that gives me the most traffic that I focus on, that I put links on, that I keep up to date. And when I reach a point where I've optimized that 20%, I ask myself, okay, what's the next thing I could do? How can I best use my time to reach my goals and my purpose? Usually the answer is not to go and continue doing the same thing for the rest of the 80% of the content. I use the 80-20 principle at the gym. I go to the gym during lunch at work, and it doesn't give me that much time to work out. And my old routine was really random and not optimized. I walked around aimlessly, did a few sets on the different machines, and in between I just dabbled on my phone basically. Now I get better results in shorter time. What I do is I focus on big muscle groups and really core exercises, deadlifts, squats, bench presses, pull-ups, and also with adding as much weights as I can. This way I get a lot out of each minute on the gym, and I'm actually done in time, so I can actually go to the sauna as well during the lunch hour, which is another part of the 80-20 principle. You can spend your leisure time how you want, right? But it's the same relationship. 20% of your leisure activities gives you 80% of the enjoyment. Saunas is definitely in the 20%, so I was super happy to be able to get that into my daily routine. You can also read a book the 80-20 way. Richard Koch, he had a tutor at the university who told him never to read a book from cover to cover unless you're reading for leisure. Here is how to read a book the 80-20 way. Read the conclusion, then read the introduction, then read the conclusion again, then lightly dip into any interesting bits you find in the book. If you read a lot of books, you might have noticed this already. 80% of the value from a book comes from 20% of the content. Absorb only the pages that matter, and you will save yourself a lot of time and effort. Another way to 80-20 your reading is to only read the best books available, and that's what BookLab is about. Here I bring you the best book recommendations and book reviews every week, so make sure to push that subscribe button, and while you're down there, like as well. It really helps me reach more people with great books. One of the comments I usually get when I post about the 80-20 principle, the Pareto Principle, whatever you want to call it, is that it's unscientific and therefore should be ignored. But I don't think like that. Science is cool and all, and I read a lot of scientific material, but when it comes to mindsets and mental models like these, my primary concern is if it's useful or not. The distribution between input and output might not be 80-20 exactly. Sometimes it's 95-5 and sometimes it's 70-30. But that's not the main point. The main point is that effort and results are unequally distributed, and if you keep an eye out and find places where this is true, then you can gain tremendous results with fairly little effort. One sad thing about this book is that the author seems to have forgotten about the 80-20 principle while writing this book. It's way too thick for a book that covers a very simple topic like, the 80-20 principle. And if you're allergic to repetition, then you might want to stay away from this book because it's very repetitive. It applies the 80-20 principle to many different areas of life, which I appreciate. It's relationships, how you spend your time, business, sales, you name it. And I really appreciate that because it really hammers it home. It really helps me solidify the knowledge and really adopt the mindset in a deep way. But I almost feel like it's too much. It's like hundreds, maybe thousands examples of how the 80-20 principle is applied on different areas, and you probably only needed 100 to get the idea. Regardless, if you want to spend your time reading 400 pages in this book about the 80-20 principle or learn about it from other sources on the internet, one fact remains: the 80-20 principle is a must-know concept, and if you don't use it in your everyday life today, then you should definitely prioritize learning about it and try to apply it, because it's an extremely useful concept. It has changed my life and it's continuing to change my life. It's really a game changer. I will take a break for 2 weeks from doing BookLab videos. Unfortunately, we're doing renovations at home, so it's going to be quite messy and I don't think I can keep up with the regular content, but I will be coming back strong. I'm reading Iron John, I'm reading The Psychology of Intelligence Analysis, and I'm reading Ishmael, a novel on Audible. It's super engrossing. I just started today and I'm like, I just want to finish this video now and listen more to it. So I'm gonna review all those books, so videos will be coming, but there will be a short break now for renovations. Let me know what you read in the comments. I would love to hear that because I'm looking for new book recommendations, so share that with us. And while you're down there, subscribe, like and share. It helps me reach more people with great books. See you in a couple of weeks. Until then, Björn out.